Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video we are going to be breaking down Dani Moonstar's deep dive, and to be honest, she does look quite interesting. As a mutant champion, she will have access to prowess. She will also have access to Falter and therefore Miss Mechanic, gaining alternate openings, different sources of energy damage. And yeah, it does look fairly straightforward to use her, which is something I absolutely love. I hate when champions are like very long rotations and, you need to do this to be doing that. And then in the end, maybe you get some damage out of it. So let's break down her abilities a bit further. So when either champion's combo meter passes multiple of 10, gain a non-stacking indefinite illusion. And illusion is lost when knocked down, so that's kind of going to be the core of her loop. So basically, you need to land at 2 combos, I believe. Gain your illusion. Gain an illusion when inflicted with disorient, fragility, or intimidate. Dani will attempt to regain illusion every 10 seconds. If illusion is consumed while suffering from these effects. And blocking basic attacks consumes your illusion to inflict a 150% falter passive for 2.5 seconds. And that is where you kind of get your rotation started. But because when opponents miss, you gain prowess effects, or when you strike them whilst they are faltered, you also can gain prowess effects, and so forth. So that's kind of like her core mechanic, which is awesome. We all like Kitty Pryde, we all like Ghost, we all like these champions that do have alternate ways of finding openings. I know I do. And that is going to work in great favor for her. And so every time opponent misses whilst they are faltered, you gain your neural arrows, I believe. And then you basically use them during special attacks, and you can inflict neural shocks. And with level 1, you also have access to energy vulnerability, which obviously will increase your damage further. Also, based on your neural arrows, your prowess effects will get more potent during the special attack, basically. Unless otherwise stated, Dani's prowess effects gain an indefinite. Well, prowess effects are indefinite and have 15% potency. If her prowess effects fail to trigger or are removed by the opponent, gain neural arrows. Gain a prowess effect when faltering the opponent, and one more each time Dani strikes a faltered opponent. Activating a special attack with neural arrows removes all personal prowess buffs and replaces them with prowess passives. All personal prowess effects are removed at end of the special attack. And then all personal prowess effects gained during special attacks gain 80% potency for each neural arrow. And that is like super important because they go from only their 15% potency to being significantly stronger. On top of it, you can actually combine having both passive and active prowess effects if you launch your special attack whilst opponent is faltered as well, thus going for even more damage. Bit of tricky timing thing, but it definitely seemed like it would be worth it. Also, I forgot to mention that Special 1 does have a slow passive for 20 seconds, and 20 seconds is a very solid duration for a slow to be on level 1, because that is a manageable duration for you to be able to maintain pretty much all the time on the opponent. And it being passive is obviously of great benefit again against all the shrug of champions and of course. I absolutely love that. And here we can see all that energy vulnerability, neural arrows, slow, active with a passive prowess, all that goodness that she does. Right? The numbers did look all right. I don't know if I was like super excited for the numbers, but they did look quite good. Also, Special 2, activating this special attack with 5 or more neural arrows inflicts a 70% overload passive for 25 seconds. Overload passive is something like, I believe it was trauma debuff or whatever it was called for physical damage, except this is for energy damage. Overload passive will basically deal additional damage, additional energy damage to opponent as whatever you hit. So it's kind of like Hercules' extra burst at 7 charges. Or it's kind of like Guardian's level 2 when you get to deal extra damage based on whatever damage you deal normally. They will receive 70% extra damage as energy damage. And that lasts for 25 seconds. So again, it's very significant because after this level 2, any damage you deal to the opponent will basically be increased by 70%, more so if you also have energy vulnerability. And now we have special 3. This special attack costs 6% less power and costs an additional 6 less for each neural arrow. So it's kind of interesting time for the first time ever where you can use special attack and you're not gonna lose. Well, it's not for the first time ever. Professor X has that too. But basically, when you use level 3, you can actually retain some power. So it could have some interesting interactions, perhaps with special power back boosted mutants, except that you would obviously have to rebuild back your neural arrows. It wouldn't be quite as spammy as Professor X. Also, after this attack gains 6 prowess buffs, the limit for the personal prowess buffs is increased to 10 until the end of the next special attack. But in general, I don't think anybody's going to use level 3. I don't think it's going to be needed unless for like very long fights, maybe. And yeah, here we can see that her effects being passives obviously will work great against skill purified champions, which is awesome. So this is a bit of a different route that they are taking with Dani, where a lot of mutants either punish champions for shrugging off their effects, like Bishop or Havoc or Jubilee or something. And then there are obviously champions like Archangel and APOC and Omega Red that lower the shrug of ability accuracy and stuff like that. But often I think the best and the easiest ways to go is just use passive effects, which is what Dani seems to be centered about. And I love that. I think we need more champions that reliably use only passive effects, therefore bypass all the shrug offs, or most of the shrug offs anyways. I think is quite cool. And now the SIG ability. If a neuro shock or stun debuff is removed for any reason other than expiry, 100% chance to inflict a neuro shock passive dealing 3,400 energy damage over 8 seconds. This is not affected by ability accuracy reduction. And also, when the opponent's health is at or below 10%, inflict an indefinite marked passive. One important thing that I didn't mention, Neuroshock passives prevent all healing, I believe. And that is why Nick Fury can't do anything. She is basically Penny Parker against Nick Fury, where the second life just doesn't exist, which obviously is immediately going to give her some additional extra nuanced value. Then on top of it, marked passive basically shuts down all immortality mechanics. And that's also going to be quite useful fighting her. So I do think that there is a relatively big focus paid to Dani Moonstar for Battlegrounds, because that often is what holds you back. So she would be great against Hercules, Nick Fury, Immortal Hulk, or anybody else with some cheat death mechanics. Obviously, it will have uses in like Alliance War Quest and stuff like that. But I think the biggest impact of these abilities is going to be in Battlegrounds by saving a ton of time. And yeah, that is Dani Moonstar. She obviously, well, yeah, the level 2, we can see that does bursts of damage as well there, and she gains impact charges. These impact charges are probably going to be her best defensive utility, I suppose, because they will give her massive block penetration as well, and they will, I believe, activate through the block. But she looks like straightforward champion to play. I think you'll probably be able to go for level 1s if you want, but level 2 is going to be where you cash in, bigger damage, and basically just get to level 2, get your prowesses, get your neural arrows, and nuke down opponents. So by all means, it seems like she's the type of champion that I and many other people would enjoy much more. Just get to level 2 and pew, rather than level 1, level 3, level 1, level 2 damage. Yeah, no, none of that stuff. Just go to level 2, deal as much damage as you do, and if that damage is good enough, then the champion is having a much better chance of being viable and reliable and popular than all of the champions with some super complicated rotation. As far as the synergies go, they kind of suck. Like, there's nothing in the synergies really. You can gain small energy resistance passive on parries with these champions. You can gain some physical resistance passive with these champions. It's neat, good, because these champions kind of need those physical resistance stats like Wiccan or Spidey, but nothing game. It's nice because of the targets. Then, like Will Vision, Wiccan, Spidey are all very squishy champions. So making them slightly more bulky obviously is a positive thing, but it's also nothing really, game changing. Final special synergies that gain an indefinite 50% pierce buff while the opponent is at or below 20% health. Obviously, that is only really relevant here for Valkyrie, and it's kind of like an extra Assassin's Mastery, I suppose, for Valkyrie. So, again, I don't think it's potent or super important enough to be like, oh my god, this synergy is great. I mean, it's nice to have, but yeah, overall, that is Dani Moonstar. So, she definitely seems to be offensively geared champion, for sure. And I like it. I am quite excited. I may be grinding for her, I don't know. We'll see when the time comes, but let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think she will be a great champion? Do you guys think she will become popular, or she's gonna be, another Purgatory or Super Scroll or Sauron or something? That being said, remember she will also be available as 7-star, because all the new champions that are entering the game now will also enter the 7-star feature crystal pool, which also leads me to believe that we will probably see Dani Moonstar crystals. It's just a hunch. Let me know what you guys think there. But my hunch says that we'll probably see Dani Moonstar Paragon crystals. Either way, let me know what are your predictions of this champion and the whole Paragon crystal situation, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about